I was here very early and took care of that. It is now 7 o'clock, and I'm going to call this meeting of the Chiillicothe City Council to order. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, council members, city officials, and our streaming audience. Welcome to the July 8, 2024 City Council meeting. We are meeting at 26 South Paint Street, Chiillicothe. I would now ask the clerk to call the attendance roll.
Thank you, President Shoemaker. Bennett, Payne, Nickerson, Barnes,
Here.
McKeever,
Here.
Dement,
Here.
Preston, here, Kroll,
Here.
Creed.
Here.
Ms. Nickerson, Ms. Payne, and Ms. Bennett let me know that they would not be able to be here this evening, so I would ask for a motion to excuse. I think we could do them all at the same time, so to excuse all three at the same time, if that is the pleasure of the group. Motion by Mr. Creed, second by Mr. Dement. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Barnes,
Yes.
McKeever,
Yes.
Dement,
Yes.
Preston,
Yes.
Kroll,
Yes.
Creed.
Yes.
Ms. Nickerson, Ms. Payne, and Ms. Bennett are excused from this meeting. I would now ask Mr. Prohl to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. The minutes from the June 24th meeting of City Council were distributed to all council members. Are there any corrections, deletions, or additions? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the minutes? Motion by Ms. Preston, seconded by Mr. Barnes. Clerk will call the roll.
Barnes,
Yes.
McKeever,
Yes.
Dement,
Yes.
Preston,
Yes.
Kroll,
Yes.
Creed.
Yes.
Minutes are approved. Next, we'll move to reports of committees. Development Committee, Mr. Dement.
Thank you, President Shoemaker. Development has nothing on tonight's agenda and nothing to report. Thank you.
Thank you. Engineering Committee, Mr. Barnes.
Thank you, President Shoemaker. We have nothing on tonight's agenda, but we did have two committee meetings a little earlier today. 24-059, 24-060. 59 deals with street openings and curb cuts. Just updating the standards and smooth lining a few things. Mr. Harriet, the chief building inspector, was here, and he was very helpful to the committee to understand more of the necessity of this, and Also, we did 24060, which is fees and building for buildings and zoning permits. And this was in desperate need of being updated. And he has done what appears to be a very outstanding job of coordinating and organizing this into a very, very more progressive and user-friendly type system. Committee voted 3-0 on each of these, and they will be forwarded to the law director. Thank you.
Thank you. Finance and Technology Committee, Mr. Prohl.
Finance and Technology has one item on tonight's agenda, and that is item number 4, which is at a second reading, a resolution adopting the tax budget for the City of Chiillicothe for the calendar year beginning January 1st, 2025, submitting the same to the county auditor and declaring an emergency. Because this is time sensitive, I am going to, at the appropriate time, ask that we please waive the 3-read rule. Also,
Let me, before
sorry.
you go on, because of the number of absent members here this evening, we won't have a sufficient number to waive the
Oh.
3 readings tonight.
well, we'll probably have to talk to the auditor and maybe have a special meeting
Let me know if that's
maybe
necessary,
next
and
week.
let me know if that's necessary, and we'll get something scheduled.
I'll work
to
on that.
Get everything taken care of.
Okay. That happens in the summertime. Next up, I do want to comment on our committee meeting that we had tonight at 6:30. We had 4 items. There was item 2376, which we're going to wait for some more information. It deals with bed tax collection for short-term rentals within the city limits. Then there was a request by Sojourners Care Network funding. This is to use some of the opiate money to fund their youth build program, and the committee felt that it needs to go before council for a vote and hopefully passage at our next meeting. It should show up on the agenda for the next meeting. Also, there is 2453, which was a request for new carpet for the law directors, for the auditor's office, and down in the basement. The carpet's 20 years old and has been subject to flooding and mold and mildew, and everyone agreed it's probably about time to replace that carpet. So that'll be also something that will be added to the next agenda. 2454, which is appropriating our annual fees for the Ohio Valley Regional Development Commission, and that was approved by the committee to be sent on to the law director to be added to the next agenda. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. The next report would be Human Resources Committee, but Ms. Payne is not here. But if anyone from that committee has anything to report, I would turn to them for any information to present to council.
Thank you, Mr. President. Human Resources has 2 items on tonight's agenda. Item number 1 is the second reading of an ordinance amending Ordinance 1324, approving the Transit Department's amended drug and alcohol testing policy and declaring an emergency. And the second item is item number 3, which is the second reading of an ordinance appropriating $6,500 to cover costs associated with the city's participation in the Mid-Ohio Regional Planning Commission's 2024 Local Government Intern Program and declaring an emergency. And that concludes the report for Human Resources.
Thank you. Parks and Rec Committee would be next. Ms. Nickerson is not here this evening. If there is no information, we'll move on then to Safety Service Committee. Mr. Creed.
Thank you, President Shoemaker. We have one item on the agenda tonight, item number 2. It's a second reading, accepting and appropriating money from the high-intensity drug trafficking areas in the amount of $419.76 to reimburse the police for overtime. So we'll ask that to go to the next reading. We had a committee meeting this evening, had 3 items we discussed. First one was 24-063, and this was accept and appropriate $1,500 from the Attorney General's office for the police department for training. The committee felt that should move forward for legislation. Item 24-065, and this is to install speed humps and signage on Watt Street. And in the discussion, we thought we needed more information as far as the length, the elevation, the impact on snow removal. Are there other areas in the cities that we should look at as well? And are these permanent or temporary? So we'll gather more information. We'll bring that back to another committee meeting. And then the next one was 24-066, and this was to appropriate $23,000 to purchase firefighter gear for 5 unanticipated vacancies in the fire department, and the committee felt that we had enough information to move that forward to legislation. That concludes our report.
Thank you. Utilities Committee, Mr. McKeever.
Thank you, President Shoemaker. Utilities has nothing on the agenda for tonight. However, we had a committee meeting regarding 24-062, to appropriate $10,000 to replace a failed storm sewer pump in Chiillicothe Park. This was approved by the committee members to move on to legislation. Thank you.
Thank you. City Services Committee, Ms. Preston.
Thank you, President Shoemaker. The City Services Committee has nothing on the agenda this evening, and we have nothing to report. Thank you.
Thank you. Community Affairs Committee, Ms. Bennett is not here. If there's no information, we'll move on to the report of officials. Mayor Feeney.
Thank you, President Shoemaker. I can comment on the tax budget. I believe that the language is it must pass no later than July 15th, which is a week from today. However, council decides to proceed with that, I think you need 5 at that meeting to pass it. So I'm sure Chris will be very appreciative if that happened. I'm not sure what happens if you don't pass your tax budget, but I don't think we want to find out. And then if in fact a special meeting is called, item 1, the sooner we get that passed, the better. So that I think that could be. I don't think there's anything controversial in that one. It could be added to that agenda potentially, and I don't think there's any need necessarily to add items 2 and 3 to a special meeting agenda. But I would recommend adding item 1 to that agenda if possible. I'd like to thank a lot of people. It's like an award show. For their participation in the 4th of July fireworks. As most people know, Noon Rotary has really taken on the fundraising for the city, which really makes a dramatic difference. For those who are unaware, I think for the past 11 years that I've been involved in city work, the city has appropriated about $15,000 in each annual budget. But our contract for purchasing fireworks is often due in February or thereabouts. We have spent, I think the last 3 years, at least the last 2 years, $50,000 on fireworks because of Rotary's commitment. And it shows the show, the club that puts on the show. This is a very, very busy time for firefighters and police, of course. The smooth operation, getting in and out of the park, the pool party. Just want to thank everybody and express my appreciation for those folks who put on a great show. And then since our last meeting, some more good news and an update related to the Appalachian Community Grant. As everybody remembers, we received about $34.5 million in that grant. When the state capital budget passed recently, we received an additional $5 million, which brings the grand total for that project to hard for me to say, $39.5 million. That $5 million is specifically earmarked for Visitors and Welcome Center. But I just want to take a moment to thank State Senator Shane Wilkin, State Representative Bob Peterson, and especially State Representative Mark Johnson for their advocacy for this region and this community, and the county commissioners for also recognizing the importance of this project to the community. It really is overwhelming, the amount that is going to flow through and the impact that these awards are going to have on the community. We will receive, or I'm told we will receive the city's grant award contract here within the next week or two, and then it'll be off to the races. There's been a lot of work that's happened without a contract over the past month or so, but once the contract is in place, we're really off to the races. The county has received and I believe signed their contract, but we are a sub-recipient, the city is, to the county, and once we sign our sub-recipient agreement, like I said, it'll be off to the races. So more to come on that. There'll be a lot of engagement with City Council, with the community, and a lot of work done in a very short amount of time. That's it for me today.
Thank you. The auditor's not here, so we'll turn to the law director.
Thank you. Summers are always challenging for our office because that's when staff rotates their vacation. So when one person leaves, everybody has not only their position to do, they have to take up the slack for the vacationing person. So it's always a difficult time for our office. There are an especially high number of documents and requests coming through, so we're especially busy, but we're keeping on top of it, and that's my report.
Thank you. Next, we'll turn to audience participation. Any person wishing to address the council must first provide his or her name and address. Comments should be limited to 5 minutes, and I'll give you a warning when there is 1 minute remaining.
Just in case you were unsure. My name is John Thacker, 990 Columbus Street, apartment 307. I want to say two things that are Chiillicothe Transit related. I've become their unofficial chief information officer, I believe. I did find out through informal sources that the transit will be providing bus service to the county fair 5 days. Dates, times exactly to be determined, but it would be Monday through Friday. For those of us who don't drive and aren't able to take an on-demand ride only as far as VA and have to walk the rest of the way, are very happy about that. Perhaps I'm the only one, but perhaps there are other ones too. They will let you know what those times are. They will have stops at the Transit Hub, the City Library, and the City Parking Lot, I believe, close to Christie's Pizza. As for the second thing that's transit related is to just ask a question as to the recent request for an amended ordinance to change the number of drivers, full-time drivers from 16 to 19, which was approved by Mrs. Preston's committee, and how that is progressing, because I did not see it on today's. Okay. Well, then that's it. I think that's everything transit, unless I forgot something. Thank you.
Next, we'll move to old business. Is there any old business to come before the council? I would only mention that after the last meeting, I did look at the ordinance that relates to non-profit funding requests, and we'll be looking at that because there's some clarification I think that needs to be made. I think it'll work well, but we need to just work through a couple of issues there. But I'll send something out to council and to the public to let them know some of the issues and questions that I have about the ordinance and how we make that work so that it works seamlessly. Is there any other old business?
President Shoemaker, I received a text message from Auditor Spetnagel who said it's actually July 22nd, she believes, is the deadline, which would be, of course, the evening of the next regular meeting. So it may be the case that a special meeting is not necessary. I did a quick Google search and said July 15th, so I don't want to be responsible for that, but she did say the 22nd.
So what you're saying is, if I don't figure this out and I mess this up, you're both going to blame me. Is that the?
I'm saying I should keep my mouth shut.
We will check the date. If a special meeting is necessary, we'll go ahead and schedule it. But the 22nd, I think, will work. So that's what we're gonna shoot for. Thanks. Any petitions or correspondence?
Thank you, President Shoemaker. I have not received anything.
I did receive today an email from someone that lives out in the Zane edition about some crop dusting and things that were going on with the farm behind the area back there, with some additional concerns in addition to those that have been raised before. So we'll go ahead and be looking at those along with the others that we are taking an active look at right now. But we'll take a look at that also. But I did receive that email from an individual that lives out in that area. So I just wanted to let everyone know that. Is there any new business to come before council? If not, we'll move to the reading of ordinances and resolutions.
Thank you, President Shoemaker. We have 4 items on the agenda this evening. Item number 1 is the second reading of an ordinance amending Ordinance 13-24, approving the Transit Department's amended drug and alcohol testing policy and declaring an emergency.
The ordinance will move to the next agenda.
Item number 2 is the second reading of an ordinance accepting and appropriating high-intensity drug trafficking area funds in the amount of $419.76 as reimbursement for police overtime and automatically accepting and appropriating HIDA reimbursements to the police overtime salaries fund.
The ordinance will move to the next agenda.
Item number 3 is the second reading of an ordinance appropriating $6,500 to cover costs associated with the city's participation in the Mid-Ohio Regional Planning Commission 2024 Local Government Intern Program and declaring an emergency.
The ordinance will move to the next agenda.
Item number 4 is the second reading of a resolution adopting the tax budget for the city of Chiillicothe, Ohio for the calendar year beginning January 1, 2025, submitting the same to the county auditor and declaring an emergency.
The resolution will move to the next agenda. Having completed the reading of ordinances and resolutions, is there a motion to adjourn? Motion to adjourn by Mr. Dement. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Barnes. The clerk will call the roll.
Barnes.
Yes.
McKeever.
Yes.
Dement.
Yes.
Preston.
Yes.
Kroll.
Yes.
Creed.
Yes.
The meeting is adjourned. Thank you so much.
Sorry, Steve.
I'm going to take credit for that.